What's up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the chronically charismatic Dr. Disaster, and just when I think that Nintendo has to have hit rock bottom and that they can't make the Switch 2 debacle any worse, they open their mouths again and prove a saying that I have come to believe in strongly.
You can't fix stupid.
It was bad enough when Nintendo announced that they were upping the prices on the games for this new generation of console, and in fact, they're making the physical copies of their games even more expensive than the digital copies. That was bad enough. But then they tried to explain themselves. One of their executives tried explaining why they decided to do this, but despite saying a whole bunch of words, the explanation ultimately amounted to them saying, the price is the price, and you're gonna pay it, which has not gone over well, and I'm sure they've been thinking,
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
Well, these same bozos have announced that they added what amounts to an instruction manual for their fancy new console, but it's in software form, and if you want to access it, then it costs $10. These guys at Nintendo are simply hell-bent on nickel and diming customers for every penny, which leads me to what we are just now getting confirmed directly from Nintendo themselves. There will, in fact, be a button on the Switch 2 controller which doesn't do anything unless you shell out money for a subscription service.
You greedy dirtbag!
This was discussed right when the system was first revealed, but I personally dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Surely Nintendo was not that foolish. Surely they would never bog down their usually sleek and often well put together controller designs with a greed button. I waited for an explanation before discussing this, but now that I have one, well, I have to say, as much as I have loved Nintendo for the vast majority of my life, it saddens me to say that at this point, I really hope that gamers are able to send them a crystal clear message when the Switch 2 releases.
Welcome to Earth.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. Audiobook of a dark fantasy novel I've written will be available for members first very soon, and I'm hopeful it will be available on Amazon soon as well. The thing is, I realize it's important that we not just complain about what we don't like. Alternatives must be provided. So, I humbly ask that you consider becoming a member of the channel or buying the book when it becomes available on Amazon. I will be providing a synopsis soon. But anyhow, let's talk about the Switch 2, which more and more people are starting to compare to likely the most disastrous launch in Nintendo's history, the Wii U. The Virtual Boy was a pretty major flop as well, but that wasn't a mainline Nintendo system meant to carry the torch for the company moving forward. The Wii U was absolutely that. It was the follow-up to the Wii, which was an extremely successful console for the company. I always used to call the original Wii the AND system. The PS3 and Xbox 360 were OR systems. In other words, you had a PS3 or a 360, but the Wii was the AND system because you had a PS3 and a Wii, or you had a 360 and a Wii. Everybody had a Nintendo Wii, so the Wii U had a lot to live up to, but the name was a crushing component for this system. Nintendo did not market it very well, and the name Wii U didn't explain what it was to normies. Most people thought the Wii U was just a new edition of the old Wii system, so they didn't buy it, not realizing it was a whole new console. The Switch 2, which obviously carries the old name of its predecessor, runs the risk of a similar reaction from normies, though Switch 2 is a better name than the Wii U. People have more of a chance of instinctively understanding what Switch 2 means. But now that Nintendo has pissed off a lot of people with this pricing stuff, they run the risk of alienating those of us who are plugged into the gaming world. We have been trying to tell them to drop the price, and they have been coyly hiding behind the news of the tariffs from this past week, hinting that they might raise prices even more due to those. And this feels like Nintendo attempting to deflect the anger that is being aimed their way to the President of the United States. But anyhow, let's read about this newest bit of greedy-ass nonsense and customer exploitation that we are hearing about from Nintendo. This article is from Polygon, where a Nintendo executive explains this new C button that is on their controller. It says, Nintendo has made its own Discord-like chat app for the Switch 2, and it's going to charge you for it. Once the free period is over on March 31st of next year, Game Chat and the C button that activates it will require a Nintendo Switch Online membership. So what happens if you aren't a subscriber and press the C button? Not much. Vice President of Player and Product Experience Bill Trinan told Polygon in a recent interview. So basically, you can't chat with people in-game unless you are willing to pay for it. We have reached peak gaming bullshit. They are now monetizing the ability to chat. No wonder gamers keep claiming that the hobby is getting worse. But reading on, it says you would be able to find out about the Nintendo Switch Online subscription there and get a sense of some of the functionality, he said. Presumably, this is how you learn that game chat works a lot like Discord video chat works on PC. You can talk with your friends in handheld or docked mode via a built-in microphone and stream your gameplay to each other. There's even a camera you can buy to overlay onto your stream or just to chat face-to-face. So, it sounds like it's even worse than a button that does nothing, actually. Imagine bumping that button in a game. You're in the middle of a heated Mario Kart match and you accidentally hit the button, and a window pops up telling you all about this service that you do not give a shit about. The article then gets into this executive's explanation as to why Nintendo did this, and again, keep in mind, this is the same executive that we looked at yesterday who told us that the price is the price when it comes to their games. The article says, though, unless you have an active Nintendo Switch Online membership, you'll have a whole button dedicated to nothing on your Switch 2. It doesn't even sound like you could remap it to something else. It will just be a reminder of the $19.99 you may or may not be handing to Nintendo every year. Trinan says the C button has a price tag because Game Chat is part of the overall platform experience, and that Nintendo Switch Online really is a critical piece of the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. He listed off some of the new Switch 2 exclusive benefits, like access to old GameCube games and free upgrades to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So the dude didn't really explain himself, other than to say, we expect you chumps to pay for Nintendo Switch Online, and if you do what you're told, then this console will do all the things that old consoles were always able to do, like let gamers communicate with each other. I don't know about you, but the way this guy just turns everything into generic corporate platitudes simultaneously is disgusting and impressive. I don't think, though, that Nintendo should allow him to explain this stuff to the public any longer, but I'm going to leave it there. What do you guys think about all this? Can you believe that Nintendo would have the audacity to charge for the ability to chat in-game? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.